Alrighty, so I originally was going to review all five of these games after the final game of the opening night of the Leeds Cup tournament is done, but as you know, that final game went on for quite a while to a point where, I decided to just kind of review the very next day, so that's where we are right now. And I'm going to have to kind of do this relatively quick because the second day of these Leeds Cup group stage game is going to start very soon, so, I don't have a lot of time in terms of talking about these games. But with that being said, let us jump into the first game, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be a game that a lot of people is going to watch this video for. And again, there's a reason why I have timestamp. If you want to watch certain games and you don't want me to talk about a certain game and kind of skip forward, you can always use the timestamp. But this is definitely a game that everybody's gonna talk about because this is the Lionel Messi debut between Inter Miami versus Cruz Azul. Now, keep in mind, he did come off the bench in this one, which I wasn't surprised by that. I mean, as much as yes, some people were hoping that he can just start straight away. I feel like coming off the bench would have been a more special occasion because he gets a good standing ovation as he's come off the bench and play for this Inter Miami team. But little do we know that Lionel Messi debut would kind of turn into a movie in terms of how this game is. In fact, you could even say that if this was a movie, even Hollywood scripter would say that this is just way too scripted and way too cliche. But early on, as I mentioned, Messi not in the star 11, but he was on the bench alongside with Sergio Busquets. Jordi Alba was actually not listed in this team, even though he just signed for Inter Miami just a couple of days ago. And then 45 seconds into this game, you can already hear the Messi chant inside the stadium. And this is not a big surprise because, for those fans that were in attendance, they pay like at least hundreds and thousands of dollars to attends this one. The whole purpose is to see the greatest player of all time play in this game. Now, in the third minute, Rivero would hits one straight to counter before counter would deny Moises from close range. I know Lionel Messi is going to steal the headlines in this game because of a Hollywood ending, but I think what we lost in this is the fact that Drake Counter had a monster game. I mean, I've said this before during his time this season with Inter Miami, and that I really felt bad for him because there's just time after time where he is really considered to be one of the most underrated goalkeeper, but time after time he's just been 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 hung out to dry because of a really bad Miami defense, and he had to bail out that back line numerous times. And he kind of had to do it in this one, but to a rate where we haven't seen him done throughout the season. Uh, but that being said, I thought it was all Cruz Azul early as they were pressing for the lead. Antuna would put it wide from long range, and then the first shot for Miami came in the ninth minute. I saw Campana hits one right to Dino. Rotundi then struck the post, and it actually fall kindly to Kebi Cambindo, but he puts that one high. Yeah, Cambindo would definitely want to have that back. In fact, Cruz Azul, they should have easily won this one. Like this was a game where it was a classic example of what happened when you are not being clinical in terms of your finishing, and also what happened when the other team have Messi. I mean, you're not clinical in terms of your finishing. Yeah, you're probably gonna lose to the team that have Messi on the other hand. Then Cambindo would pulls it wide from close range. I thought it was optional defending for Miami. I mean, it was just way too easy for Cruz Azul to create chances. And in fact, I thought it was optional kind of midfield too from this Inter Miami team. Like, there was just no midfield whatsoever from this Inter Miami team. It was just way too easy for Cruz Azul to bypass that midfield and just leaving that back line completely exposed. In fact, 15 minutes into this game, the shots were 6-1 in favor of Cruz Azul. Like, it was a total domination up to this point. Campana then had one well, actually he was wide open in the box, and talk about missed chances. Leo Campana would love to have this one back as he mishits this header. Then he hits one right to Godinho again in the 33rd minute, and I thought Miami started to settle down. I think they started to settle down and started to not allowing Cruz to just completely cut that midfield open. And as a result of that, they get the game first goal. It's Robert Taylor scoring from Robinson to make it 1-0 in favor of Inter Miami. We know Robert Taylor, when he is on, he is definitely a very good player and can score some banger kind of goal, and that was definitely one of them. And yeah, that gave Inter Miami a 1-0 lead, and that obviously is completely against the run of play because up to this point, Cruz Azul was by far the better team, and somehow they find themselves 1-0 down heading into the second half. Now in the second half, unsurprisingly, the Messi chant get louder as he was being warmed up on the touchline. Like, as soon as he warmed up in the touchline, you can hear a loud roar. It almost felt like Inter Miami scored a goal because yeah, everybody was was uh was definitely waiting for that moment to happen. Rivero then hits one that is denied by Calendar on the free kick. Before in the 54th minute, the moment finally came. The moment that everyone and pretty much MLS in general has been waiting for. Messi came come on, and the same goes for Sergio Busquets. I mean, it's a big moment when Apple TV even had they actually had the PA announcer being played over in the audio, and yeah, I mean it was such a big moment, not just in terms of this game and what everyone wants to see, but just in terms of American soccer. This is gonna go down as a watershed moment in MLS and American soccer that we're gonna talk about for a very long time. Now, in the 55th minute, Rivero would puts it wide from long range, and while the moment is definitely about Messi now finally getting his chances to play this Inter Miami team, which again at that point it's still I was still kind of soaking in because the fact that it was surreal, the fact that he is actually playing with an MLS team right now. Cruz Azul was not having it. Like Cruz Azul, they were trying to be the party pooper. They were trying to ruin Messi occasion by pushing to try to get the equalizer. Moises then puts it wide after just a bad giveaway from Busquets of all player. And I think that was really the only bad moment that Sergio Busquets had. And again, I know the moment in this game is going to be because of Messi, but I think what also lost in translation is that Sergio Busquets had a good game in this one, and this was really the only bad moment he has, a bad giveaway that almost allowed Cruz Azul to tie the game up. But they eventually do tie the game up in the 65th minute. It's Oro Tuna, the former LA Galaxy player. He scored from Duenas to make it 1-1 in this one. And as much as I said Greg Counter had a good game in this one, and he did. This is definitely one blemish that he had. I mean, this is one that I think he should have saved, and he knows it too because the way that Antuna hits that one, it was right to Calendar. Calendar just didn't really do a good job to push that one away and into his own net. And yeah, the game is tied up at one apiece. And then the 71st minute, we saw Messi take his first shot for Miami and in MLS as it was actually blocked right to Dino. Taylor then blasted high from long range, and then Martinez was in on goal there. And he actually rounded the keeper, but unfortunately, when he rounded the keeper, he actually lost his angle, and he was trying to play that one back, hoping one of his teammates would tap it in, but didn't happen. Counter then tipped Rivero shot over. I thought Cruz Azul was pressing for the winner. Again, Cruz Azul. I know. For those players, it must be a surreal moment for them that they're playing against Messi. But they were trying to be the party pooper in this one. They were trying to spoil the moment here for Miami and also for MLS. Multi then puts it right to counter. There was a huge shout for a penalty as fans thought that Messi was brought down in the box. Now I don't think that was a penalty, and though I wouldn't actually be surprised that they actually award the penalty because again, this is the one thing I talked about in the Leeds Cup tournament before, where because of Messi being here, I wonder is he gonna get maybe some referee decision that goes his way, and little do we know that actually is kind of a foreshadow of what we'll see later in this one, but yeah, that was one that I think it was just way too soft, and people forget that Messi he also practiced the dark arts at time, and I think he was trying to practice the dark arts here, maybe win his team a penalty, but it wasn't meant to be. Tabos then blasted high in the 84th minute. I wrote this could have been 4 or 5-1 in favor of Cruz Azul if they were able to find their finishing. That was the storyline in this game for them. Allen then blasted wide from long range before Martinez looked like he give Inter Miami the lead. Problem was, the flag did not agree with him, and this was actually not Martinez that was in an offside position. It was actually Messi, the one that was in an offside position, and he was way offside. Like he was at least 2 yards offside there, so the goal didn't count. Counter then denied Topos from close range, and again, despite allowing a soft goal, Counter is standing on his head here. Like he is standing on his head. He is just making sure that Inter Miami will have a special moment in this one and keeping Cruz Azul of getting the winner and also not to mention keeping Miami in this game and also bailing out a bad Miami backline that pretty much was non-existent throughout this game. Tabos then puts it high from long range in the 90th minute before we go into the 7th minute of stoppage time. And actually, I wrote the time wrong here, but in the 7th minute of stoppage time, we saw a free kick for Inter Miami. Now, remember how I said the fact that Messi kind of practiced a bit of a dark arts to win trying to win a penalty, and well, that didn't work in that play. It worked here on the free kick because I think he kind of went down a little bit too easily there, but you knew that the referee isn't gonna just let that one go. He's gonna say it's a free kick. I've seen before that those are usually given as a free kick, and if this was happening in the spot, I think the referee wouldn't have given it, but. He gives a free kick to Inter Miami from 24 yards out, and you just like when that happened, I knew what's gonna happen. Like I think many people kind of knew what's gonna happen. Lionel Messi is gonna score a walk off free kick goal to win Inter Miami and basically put a Hollywood ending script in terms of his debut. Guess what he did? He scored a walk-off free kick here in the 7 minute of stoppage time, and in the words of Ian Darks, you cannot write a better script than that. I mean, that is just something that Again, I know at the end of the day, people will say that this is completely scripted and this is completely rake and stuff. I don't think so. I really don't. I think this is just kind of one of those moments where it's just been written in the star. And this, I think, not only benefits Inter Miami, but it just benefits everyone in a whole. From the league, from Apple TV, like this, you couldn't dream a better situation where Messi making his debut and then scoring the winning free kick goal. Just vintage Lionel Messi that we've seen him done time and time again throughout his career. So yeah, that made it 2-1, and that was the final score in this one. In fact, the referee immediately blew the full time whistle. I think not only everybody was excited in the stadium, but even the referee was excited, and maybe I would say the Cruz Azul player was excited too, because again, I mean, I don't think anybody was upset at that moment. Well, maybe some Cruz Azul fans where they'll say that, yeah, that is a very typical Cruz Azul kind of moment for them to choke in the most vital moment. But in terms of the shots in this one, 18 shots for the 12 that Miami has, 8 shots on goal for the 6 that Miami has, 9 shots off target for the 4 that Miami has, 2 shots that was blocked for the 1 that Cruz Azul has, and possession-wise, 48% possession compared to 52% possession that Miami has in this game. And again, I know the storyline is going to be Messi scoring that winning free kick goal, but let's also not forget some of the unsung hero, and this is where I will mention again, Drake Calendar, just an unsung hero in this game, making those big saves. If it wasn't for him, I don't think Messi would have had that moment of potentially scoring on the free kick and walking it off for Inter Miami in this one. But yeah, for Inter Miami, the hype is definitely through the roof, and I'm also very glad the fact that I actually picked them finishing first place in the standings, because I just have a feeling the league is going to try every way to make sure they does, because Messi is in the team, and as of now they are in first place in their group. But that being said, moving on in the next match, as I spent almost 13 minutes talking about that game again, I think that was the game that out of these Leagues Cup games, this was the game that everybody was glue on. In fact, they mentioned it was like something about 12.5 million viewers that was watching this game. That is the most watch soccer game that is non World Cup that we seen ever in American soccer history. That just shows you how much the hype was at, and how much the world was really watching this game. And yeah, the world gets a really Hollywood ending script because of how Messi scored that walk off free kick goal. But that being said, for even though I know this was the most talked about game, let's actually now talk about the other game, and I think this is where people are probably gonna switch off this video because the other game probably doesn't matter. But for the sake of this review, I'm gonna also talk about the other game, and the other game is Orlando City versus the Houston Dynamo. And unfortunately, this game has the undubious honor being but at the same time, in this one between Inter Miami versus Cruz Azul, which I think that was a bad decision from Lee's Cup standpoint. I feel like this should have been just a standalone game. But yeah, nevertheless, this game, I mean, again, it felt very irrelevant. In fact, during their pregame coverage from Apple TV, they didn't even talk about this game. Like you wouldn't know that Orlando City was playing against the Houston Dynamo until they finally showed it right as the kickoff began. But that being said, another unfortunate situation with this game is the fact that there was a very controversial call in this one. And if you thought that there was going to be competent refereeing job in this Leagues Cup tournament, oh boy, you are in for a bit of a surprise. But in the first half, Orlando has most of the possession, though not much really happened as the shots were 2-0 through 15 minutes. Carlos actually had the second shot of the game, but he hits it wide from close range. Torres then puts it high from long range, and then Tarbell with the 9 Aru from close rank, or Arujo, that is, or Araujo. Again, I'm just gonna say Araujo from now. I don't even know why I decided to go back to where the announcer says it. But in the 41st minute, Torres then had a shot that was deflected wide. As I thought, Orlando started to gain some steam. They were started to look to try to get the opening goal, because again, up to this point, there was really not much that has happened in this game. But then this is where we get to the controversy. So it was a penalty that was given to Houston, as Dorsey was brought down by Santos in this one. And I should have wrote brought down with quotation mark, because yes, I know there was some contact that Rafael Santos had on Griffin Dorsey, but I feel like Griffin Dorsey delayed his fault. Like, you can clearly see when that contact was made on Dorsey, he actually should stay on his foot, and then literally 1 second later, he basically they fall on the ground, and basically draw this as a penalty. And the fact that they didn't go to VAR in this place is even more appealing. And I think this is also an example of the fact that, yep, just because this is the Leeds Cup tournament, just because this is a new tournament, if you thought that there was going to be some good refereeing decision, or good refereeing, or every call is going, well, I wouldn't say every call, but the most egregious call that is not going to happen in this tournament. Oh yeah, you just found out that that's not the case. And keep in mind, this is also a tournament that's organized by CONCACAF, and if you are a person that have watched these games that's organized by CONCACAF, especially in the Champions League, you know how bad refereeing is. So this was not a big surprise that they botched this call, but I can understand why Orlando City fans are absolutely fuming about this call, because again, I don't think that was a penalty. I really don't. But that being said, oh, I didn't even put who scored the penalty here. That just shows you how much I didn't think that that was a penalty. But the Dynamo did score on the penalty. Actually, I know who scored the penalty. It was Bassi, the ones that scored the penalty, because Bassi, of course, is the one that takes the penalty. Right, let me just write that down right now. If I have any room, I'll just put it here. 45-7, Houston, and I'll say Bassi basically scored the penalty here. And yeah, that gives Houston a 1-0 lead in a very controversial way. But in the second half, it did not take long for Orlando to get that goal that they were wrongly allow in the end of the first half. As Duncan McGuire, again, this is a kid. He just continued to stay hot. He scored here to tie the game up at one apiece. Although you want to thank Andrew Tarbell here, and I think maybe Tarbell felt bad the fact that his team won a penalty that shouldn't have been a penalty, and that he decided that he's just gonna give the ball straight to Duncan McGuire. Yeah, that is definitely not a thing you want to do if you're a goalkeeper. But also, kind of Andrew Tarbell decided to do that, and yeah, McGuire, that is probably the easiest goal that he will score. I think he was probably even more surprised the fact that he was able to get that ball, and how Tarbell just kind of passed straight to him, and he slots it into the empty net. Then Bear did try to respond, but he blasted that one into Tampa before Artur puts it high from long range. And again, this game, it seems like it was destined for penalty, because there was really not much happened. Chances was at a premium up to this point. In the 76th minute, Caro puts it wide in the near post, but as what I expected, this game eventually does go to a PK shootout. So we have the first PK shootout of this League Cup tournament. We actually turns out to have three PK shootout in this Leagues Cup tournament, because as a reminder, if a game remains tied, it doesn't end in a tie in the group stage, it goes to PKs. But both of these teams, of course, already have the point. So who gets the extra point? Well, it's Orlando City, as Facu Torres would slot home the winning penalty after Herrera actually missed the only penalty um, in this PK shootout. And yeah, in the end, Orlando, I mean, maybe some justice in this game, able to get the extra point in this one with a 5-4 win in the PK shootout. Shots in this one, 16 shots for the 7 that Houston had, 1 shots on goal for the 5 that Orlando has, 6 shots off target for the 4 that the Dynamo has, 2 shots that was blocked compared to the 5 that Orlando City has, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to the 45% possession that the Dynamo has in this game. So yeah, again, Orlando maybe get a little bit of a justice, though some Orlando fans will feel like they kind of still got robbed of a point, because if it wasn't for that penalty, they probably would have won this one with a 1-0 win. But like I said, this is just a reminder that if you thought that there was going to be some good refereeing that's going to happen in this tournament, yeah, you're going to be in for a surprise. And this is also a reminder that let's just hope this doesn't happen as we get into even more crucial games of the group stage, and especially heading into the knockout round. But that being said, moving on in the next game, Austin and Mazatlán, and I'm not gonna lie. I really was hoping Austin can redeem themselves after that embarrassing display that they had against Violet in the CONCACAF Champions League, but it turns out that that was not the case. And I think maybe this might be the last time I trust Austin in terms of them playing against a CONCACAF opponent because, yeah, this was a game that Josh Wolf clearly did not learn his lesson against Violet, where he decided to put a relatively weak squad and hope that he can easily get the win against a lowly Mazatlán team in Liga MX, and he got found out in a bad way once again in this one. Now, early on, Coman would blast it high from long ranges. I thought there was a lot of possession for Austin early, but like the previous game, it was a slow start to this one. Shots were only 1-0 for Mazatlán through 20 minutes. Lundqvist then puts it high from the corner before Amaria would heads it wide from the corner. If Luis Amaria actually scored in this game, I would have had some conflict that feeling because on one hand, as a former Loons player, I would always love to see a former Loons player score, but at the same time, I would have had conflict of feeling knowing the fact that where was this when he was still with Minnesota United. But shots were 2-1 in through 35 minutes in favor of Mazatlan. In the 40th minute, Finley would be in on goal there, but he missed wide there in the 40th minute. But we do head to halftime with this game scoreless between both of these teams. It didn't stay scoreless for long though, because in the 47th minute after Montano would hits one right to Stubert in the 49th minute, Mazatlan takes the lead. It's Josue Coleman, the former Orlando City and FC Dallas player. He scored here to make it 1-0 in favor of Mazatlan, but this was was a goal that shouldn't have happened if it wasn't for bad clearance from Austin in the first place and just some optional defending from them. I mean, we talked about this season how bad the defending has been for Los Verdes, and part of that has to do with the fact that they've been suffering some injuries, but man, they really got exposed in this one too, and yeah, that gave Mazatlan a 1-0 lead. Maria then puts it wide from long range before Fagundes would blast it way wide in the 56th minute. Finley then puts it wide as I thought Austin started to come back into this game. They were looking to try to get the equalizer, and they had a chance to do so. As in the 63rd minute, a penalty was given to Austin as VAR deemed that Bello clipped Finley in the box, and here comes Diego Fagundes, steps up to take the penalty because Sebastian Driussi did not play in this one, which was a huge question mark and one that I think Josh was going to have some things to explain why exactly his best player is not available in this one. But yeah, Fagundes slots home to tie the game up at one apiece, but it did not stay tied for long because just 2 minutes later, Mazatlan gets the lead back. It's Montano that gets the lead back for Mazatlán. And again, just terrible clearance again from Austin. Like they just kind of cleared it right to a Mazatlán player. And yeah, Mazatlán punished them again. And they have retaken the lead. Though in the 72nd minute, Bruin would look like he ties the game up for Austin. But the flag did not agree with him there. And it looked like we were in for some League Cup After Dark because you ever heard of MLS After Dark and CCL After Dark kind of moment or peak CCL or peak MLS moment? Yeah, it feels like the Leeds Cup is in for it because it was kind of crazy of how this game started to go. But as the time winds down, you can see Austin was pushing hard to try to get the equalizer. It looks like Mazatlán was holding on for this lead, but instead it would be Mazatlán, the one that was able to kill this game off. It's Bello scoring from Amaria to make it 3-1 in favor of Mazatlán. So yeah, that was the final score in this game, and the shots in this one, 10 shots apiece for both of these teams, but 5 shots on goal for the 3 that Austin has. 5 shots off target for the 4 that Mazatlán has. 2 shots that was blocked for the 1 that Mazatlán has in possession-wise. 65% possession compared to 35% possession that Mazatlán has in this one. And yeah, Mazatlán, I think they absolutely deserve this win because again, Austin, they did not learn their lesson from last time when they faced against an inferior team in the CONCACAF region, and especially for Josh Wolf. You cannot put a relatively weak roster and maybe your second team just you thought that maybe you're playing at home and against a weak team, and if they don't figure that out in the next game that they have against Juarez, they are in serious trouble. I mean, and if they do knock out again, I mean this, I'm pretty sure the fans are gonna be questioning Josh Wolf again, and maybe even some of the Josh Wolf out crowd that I've started hearing in the Austin fan base will definitely be lined up again after this one. With that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last two games to finish off the opening night action of the Leeds Cup group stage tournament. So moving on in the next one, we got Dallas against Charlotte FC, and Dallas blew it in this one because they were on verge of getting all 3 points in this one. It looked like they were going to do it, and then Charlotte got the late equalizer, and they ended up also stealing an extra point in this one. And this could come back to haunt Dallas in a big way because, as I mentioned, in this group featuring these teams that have not really done well so far with Dallas, Charlotte, and Acasa, this could definitely come back to haunt Dallas if they end up not moving on into the round of 32. Now, in the first half, Ferreira had a shot that was deflected wide from close range. Again, not much has happened in this game. Again, besides the game that we saw between Cruz Azul and Inter Miami, I don't think either of these game really kind of got lined up. I feel like maybe you could say that a lot of that has to do with the way that in this tournament, teams are not going to try to open themselves up because if you lose one, then you are definitely in serious jeopardy of potentially not moving on into the next round. But yeah, the shots were only 1-0, and also it doesn't help the fact that it was in a hot Texas night. It was 100 degrees when this game kicked off. Kamungo then was in on goal there, and he actually round Kalina. And with the way that Kamungo has been good for Dallas, you would thought that he would slot that one in, but he doesn't. He fluffs that one there, just kind of lost his composure at the worst time. But at the same time, I think some of the players that are the most or the one that are breathing the biggest sigh of relief has to be those Charlotte defenders because that came from just a WTF turnover from Charlotte in their back line, and that, yeah, it almost cost them a goal in this one. O'Brien then hits one right to Kalina before Merrim would puts it right to Maurer, as I thought this game started to open up a little bit, and as a result, we guess the game's opening go as Kumungo would make up for his bad miss that he has as he scored here from Ferreira to make it 1-0 in favor of Dallas. Again, this has got to be good news. The fact that Bernard Kumungo has really started to step up, and maybe it could be the guy that they've been desperately looking for, a guy that can score the goals for this Dallas team besides Jesus Ferreira. But we do head to halftime with Dallas leading 1-0, and in the second half, that lead basically vanished because the penalty was for Charlotte after Quignon brought down Schwadetsky in the box. Schwadetsky won the penalty, so he took the penalty and he slots it home to tie the game up at one apiece. And then Arfield actually made it 2-1 in favor of Charlotte, but apparently the goal was disallowed for offside. Originally, I thought this was on the development of play, but it looked like it was because Schwadetsky screened Maurer there, and it just felt like it was one of those kind of situation where, yeah, it was in an offside position. And keep in mind, nobody touched that ball there. There was not a delivery deflection. So yeah, I'm glad that that is the case because if that was disallowed, or actually if that goal was allowed, New England fans will definitely be very salty about that, and especially of a similar situation of them getting robbed of that call in the game against the Red Bulls a couple of weeks ago. But it was pretty clear that the app didn't get that memo because it was still showing 2-1 in favor of Charlotte, but eventually they did fix it. But I also thought that Dallas left off the hook there because, yeah, they were letting Charlotte back into this game. And then it got heated in the 69th minute. Not literally in terms of the weather in Dallas, but tempers really flare as Westwood and Jesus kind of clash with each other. They did actually take a look to see whether or not if there was a potential red card, and there could be a case that you could see that happen because with the way that Westwood and Jesus kind of grab each other in the neck, that's kind of hands to the face. And again, because this is a CONCACAF kind of tournament, I guess maybe that's just worthy of a yellow card. But that being said, the referee was then told that he really sucked because, yeah, you got to remind these CONCACAF referee that they really suck in terms of the job that they're doing. Though in the 73rd minute, Bronco would puts it over from close range, and then Mayor would denied, or not Mayor, Maurer would denied Schwadetsky from close range. Jack Mayer doesn't play for FC Dallas, and he's not the goalkeeper for FC Dallas. Also, by the way, if you wonder why Martin Paz was not in goal in this one, was because unfortunately his I think his grandma unfortunately passed away, and he's at the funeral. So definitely my condolences for Martin Paz in terms of dealing with that difficult situation. But that being said, his team was able to retake the lead as Sebastian Lletget would score from Kamungo to make it 2-1 in this one. So great night for Kamungo, scoring in this one and getting the assist. And it was also completely against the run of play because up to this point, Charlotte was really pushing and they looked like they were going to get this go ahead goal. Ferreira then was in on goal there, but he was denied by Kalina, and I thought Dallas was lethal on the break. And I think a lot of that is because Charlotte was continuing to push men forward. They had to go for it to try to get this equalizer. And in the fifth minute stoppage time, Sumberland had a chance to finish it for Dallas, and he was just wide open in the 12-yard area, but he completely fluffed his lines and the inability to finish these chances and kill this game off would come back to haunt Dallas because just 2 minutes later, Ben Bender would score from Westwood to make it 2-2 in this one. It was a great goal there from Ben Bender and even a better delivery there from Ashley Westwood. So yeah, the game was tied up at 2 apiece. Definitely some Leeds Cup after dark kind of moments, some late drama in this one too. So we go to a PK shootout in a game that we thought that Dallas was going to win this one and grab all 3 points. The fans were also leaving the stands, and I couldn't tell they were leaving. Are they going to one side to basically trying to root for their team, or the fact that they're actually leaving because yeah, they forgot that we do go to a PK shootout and the game doesn't end in a draw. But that being said, even though those Dallas fans left, they didn't really miss much because in the end, their team didn't win the PK shootout. It would be Charlotte, the one that wins the PK shootout, and the winning penalty Giamon scoring here the winning penalty after Dallas actually missed their first two PK. It was not a good PK shootout. This plays from FC Dallas, and in the end, Charlotte was able to win 4-1 in the PK shootout. Shots in this one, 10 shots compared to 5 that Charlotte has, 6 shots on goal for the 4 that Charlotte has, 1 shot off target for the 3 that Dallas had, 1 shot that was blocked for the none that Charlotte has, and possession-wise, 61% possession compared to 39% possession that Dallas has in this one. Very frustrating night for FC Dallas. And again, in a group like this where I think it's going to be very tight and there's really not much separated between all three of these teams, it could come back to haunt Dallas if they don't make it into the next round by a point or even two points into the round of 32. And then finally, moving on into the last game, and the game that just seems like it never wanted to end, is the game between Leon and the Vancouver Whitecaps. So yeah, I swear, I feel like the way that because this is a West Coast game, and when the clock went past midnight in East Coast time, there's going to be some crazy things going to happen. That's why we see some of these West Coast game always have some crazy moment. We call it MLS After Dark. So I guess you can call this Leagues Cup After Dark in terms of what we saw in the PK shootout because this PK shootout just went on and on and on and then some on. But in the first half, not much really happened throughout the first 18 minutes. There was no shots throughout the first 18 minutes. In fact, the first shot actually went up into the back of the net. It's Moreno that scores that scores on the first shot of the game to give Leon a 1-0 lead. And I thought at that point, well, yeah, it looks like Leon is going to dominate this game. It looks like it's going to be an easy win because coming into this game, I just had a feeling that, yes, even though the Whitecaps are playing at home and they're very good this season at home, this is Leon after all. They won the CONCACAF Champions League. And with the way how they kind of dictate plays and control this game, it looks like Leon was just kind of toying with the Vancouver Whitecaps. And 40 minutes in, the Whitecaps still have yet to register a shot. But it turns out in the 44th minute, just like how Leon scored on their first shot of the game, Vancouver would score on their first shot of the game too, as in the 44th minute, Sergio Cordova would score from Berhalter to make it 1-1 in this one. Who knew that Sergio Cordova, his confidence is definitely back after he broke a goal scoring curse. I mean, surely a number 9 that can go for a drought and finally scoring a goal. It's not a classic example of them start to have their floodgates start to open, and it seemed like that's kind of the case with Sergio Cordova right now. And also, this kind of came out of nothing. I mean, it was just kind of whole football from Sebastian Berhalter. Cordova went through on goal, and just like that, the game was all tied up at one apiece, and that kind of give momentum for the Whitecaps not only for the remaining part of the first half, but heading into the second half too, with this game tied up at one apiece. White would then heads one off the set piece in the 47th minute before he heads it high off of a deflection on the back post. Again, it was a promising start for Vancouver. I mean, Leon, they they just completely lost the momentum in this one. Like that goal that they gave up probably came at the worst time because they would just at that point look so comfortable. But Vancouver has been really strong coming out of the gate. Blackman would blast it high from long range before in the 56th minute, Vancouver capitalized on the being the better team as Sergio Cordova would score again here from Ryan Gull to make it 2-1 in favor of the Whitecaps. And all of a sudden, it looks like the shock was on. It looked like this was going to be one of those days where maybe an MLS team is going to get the better of a Liga MX team. And this might be probably the most surprising one, I would say. But Leon did start to regain possession, and Whitecaps were started to forced to sit deep and had to go on the transition, which is kind of part of their games. But at times they were having trouble in terms of going through the transition, and this is where I started to get concerned with the Vancouver Whitecaps. You just don't want to just sit too deep and try to bunker for this 2-1 win because it just doesn't go so well, especially when you have the quality of the of Leon has. And the Leon chant definitely rained out from the fans that was in green. There was a lot of Leon's fan in this stadium. Not a big surprise. Leon always tends to bring some really good support, even in that CCL final that we saw when they play against LAFC. But the shots were still 6-5 for Vancouver through 73 minutes. But then the 77th minute, Leon gets the equalizer. It's Hernandez scoring from Barrio to tie the game up at 2 apiece. It was a great goal there from Hernandez there. I mean, definitely one that I don't know if they will do goal of the tournament, but this is definitely going to go down as one of the nomination for it. In the 86th minute, the post would deny Martins from close range, so the Whitecaps came within a whisker away to tie the game up at 1 apiece, but or not 1 apiece, I'm sorry, but retaking the lead to make it 3-2. But the Whitecaps were clearly not playing for penalty. They were going for it. They're trying to get the lead again, though Hernandez did blast it high on the free kick, and then Rodriguez heads it high from close range, almost give Leon the late winner. But we do go to a PK shootout for the third time in this game, and unlike the previous two PK shootout, as I mentioned, this one would just get absolutely bonkers. So in the third round, the fourth round of the PK shootout, we had four straight miss as neither team was able to score one past either goalkeeper and also hitting the post a couple of times. There would be two more misses in round 8, and yeah, I think it was Laborda had a chance to end it for the Whitecaps, but he hits the post. And then we go to round 14 because, this is where things get really weird and crazy. And it got so crazy that I think the announcers started to forget who was actually taking the penalty because he literally said that Kubas was basically the one that took the penalty when it was pretty clear that it was not Andres Kubas that took the penalty. It was Brian White that is. I mean, I get it. Yes, it's late at night, and I don't think the announcer was still thinking that they would be calling penalty kick shootout into round number 14. But come on, how do you mess that up? And especially even the PA announcer mentioned the fact that Brian White was going to take penalty, and assuming that these commentators at the game right now, I don't know how they screw that one up, but they eventually did say that they understand that. Well, after all 11 player takes the penalty, they can rotate whatever kind of position that they're in. So yeah, eventually they realized that, but they probably should have realized that before the PK shootout happened. But that being said, as we continue into this PK shootout to a point where I think up to this point, as a neutral watching this, I just don't care who wins. Like, just end this because I need to go to bed. And finally it did in round number 19 as Martins unfortunately struck the post to end the PK shootout in this one. And after just an epic bonker PK shootout, turns out to be the longest PK shootout that any MLS team and even I think Liga MX team has ever involved. Leon is able to win this in this epic PK shootout, 16-15. In this PK shootout. And the shots in this one, 14 shots for the 8 that the Whitecaps had. By the way, I actually had to move down the stats because I already put the stats before the PK show. I was thinking I was just need to put one note in the PK show. I didn't think that I was gonna put multiple notes because of how bonkers this PK shootout went. But yeah, in the end, 14 shots for the 8 that the Whitecaps had, 4 shots on goal for the 2 that the Whitecaps had. Both teams had 4 shots off target, 6 shots that was blocked for the 2 that the Whitecaps had. And possession-wise, this is actually wrong. It should be 65% possession compared to just 35% possession the Whitecaps had. Again, up to this point, I was just tired. I just want to go to bed. And yeah, in the end, Leon, they were able to get the extra point. But if you're the Vancouver Whitecaps, no shame in terms of losing this PK shot. Like the fact that they went toe to toe against the team that won the CONCACAF Champions League and beat what we thought that was still the favorites with LAFC in that one. They should held their heads high, and they still have a decent amount of chances in terms of potentially moving on into the next round when they do play against the LA Galaxy. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of looking at these 5 games. And as I mentioned, we got 5 more games that is going to happen. It's actually going to be kicking off really soon from now. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of these games. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. And I will see you guys next time.